Hello.
Does this work?
How's this? We seem to jump about and shake, cross everything. Oh, bless them.
Third time lucky. This is the fourth time lucky.
If not, I think you should go live on Instagram.
Or, yay. Is it working? All good.
Yeah.
So we're doing it off the laptop. So what the hell's going on with that?
It's weird, isn't it?
Okay. Sorry about that. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to put you over here and then bring the stories up over here. So anyway, do you want to say hello?
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm not going to tell the story I was going to tell because I started it 3 times. So now it's feeling very forced. So first and foremost, happy International Women's Day. I've been getting messages in on my Instagram from people that would like to say something to the woman that they want to celebrate today, even if that is themselves. So if you want to send a message through here now, not too long so we can read lots, and we're just going to, through the live, we're going to read out some messages. Let me start with one straight away from Sundhine1. This came through on Instagram. My late mum, Kathleen Foster, made me who I am today. Strong and beautiful. Left us in 89. And she must have done a good job because you can say those things about yourself. I will feel I've really hit something as a mum when my girls stand in front of me and say something unfettered, positive about themselves.
But do you think we ever will in this country? It's a very British thing that we don't promote ourselves, or we don't sort of big ourselves up or anything like that. It's seen as arrogant. It's seen as sort of pretentious.
I big myself up, but I don't. But I think that's just because I'm a general show off. I don't know if it comes from a good place. I think it's just because I'm a show off.
You're just supremely confident.
I'm not confident.
Well, you come across.
I fake it to make it.
Yeah, okay, well, you're an actress.
Do I come across as confident?
Yes, of course you do.
What would you describe me as a confident
Yes, we did a whole fucking podcast on it yesterday.
Did we?
Yes.
By the way, the front cover of Woman's Own yesterday said that we are struggling with our marriage. We're fighting for our marriage to stay together. Now, very sweetly, my agents sent me the front cover yesterday, Bell PR actually. And, you know, obviously they're very protective, and they said, oh, you know, this is terrible. And quite rightly, you know, because the front cover was very sensationalist. But actually, when I opened it up and read it inside, every single word of it.
We said in our podcast.
That's the funny thing.
It shows you how searingly honest we are.
Everything inside was absolutely the truth, but you guys know us so well. So when I'm saying on a podcast, well, you drive me bloody mad, you know, how many times have I, do you know, it's all about my housemate and everything. But when you see it in print, it does look like we're fighting.
But this has happened many times. I think I shared this. When did I share the story? At some point. When we used to go down to Nanny Thelma's, Nanny Thelma would, why am I looking at the camera? Up here. Nanny Thelma would collect magazines and, you know, Best and all that kind of stuff, because Maddie was in it.
She had a pile of them.
She had a pile of them in the bedroom.
Slept.
So the kids would get off the bunk bed, and the first thing they would see was the pile of magazines on a chair at the end of the bunk bed. And it took a while because Maddie would come out looking a bit perturbed.
No, but we never knew why. It was years later.
No, and anyway, so one of us asked her eventually. She said, "Have you seen the headline on the magazine at the end of the bed?" And it said, "Mark and Naddie's marriage in crisis." Tatters,
no, but it wasn't
divorce.
until years later that she said she would be in that room and she would go through all these magazines, because of course we never looked at them. It was just a pile, never touched them. But of course the kids were. So yesterday I sent a message to Maddie and said, look, just in case you see this, because you know what it's like, immediately their friends send them all the cover. And she went, Jesus Christ, how can they just say stuff like this? How's Dad? And we were laughing our heads off because every word inside was the truth.
It was so funny. Outlandish creations. I think I should big myself up as I am an international woman, being half English and half Scottish. A single parent. I have a business that trades internationally, and I definitely need a big up. You
do need a big up. And Outlandish Creations, many of you will see her. We have a lot of her things here. Our beautiful friend in Chiswick actually was the one who introduced us by buying us beautiful array of things. Actually, Mark, go and get a couple of them. Let's show. That's big up.
I will.
International Women's Day and her business. I'll go and get them.
And also she makes rather fantastic, I hope you don't mind me saying this is going to be a bit rude, ceramic dildo salt and pepper shakers, which just for the sheer fact that I can say that sentence is a remarkable achievement. Here we are. Look, have you got Muff Diver? That's a
Angel
particular favourite.
face.
Oh, you can't see it.
Can
can't
you
see
do
it.
it? You lift it because you know the camera better.
That's a very unrude angel face.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I'm
Muff,
doing it.
Muff Diver.
You could have gone and got them when I asked you, but you
Like,
didn't want to
I'm
move
not
your
your
ass.
fucking lapdog.
And now you don't want to believe. Now I haven't done it good
Just
enough.
do something yourself in a
Oh
life.
my
Cop Womble.
God.
Cop Womble. I think.
Okay, I'm going to go back to my story that I was going to tell this morning. He comes to bed last night and says, I emptied the bathroom.
Because and
bathroom
that's our sweet nothings.
International Women's Day.
That's our sweet nothings. I emptied the.
So I said, I said, God, that's incredible. Like, that's the first time in 20 years. How did it feel? He went, it's the second time. So we were chatting about this earlier on Instagram, and I was thinking, on this great day, International Women's Day, tell me something that you really wish, just one thing that you didn't have to do, just one thing. This was part of the article yesterday, actually, in Women's Zone, wasn't it? Just because I thought it'd be quite funny. Just
Claire
to see what it
LC
is.
says, careful guys, you'll be in the paper again. Very true. What was I going to say? I just want to, first of all, just before we get going, I want to say a big shout out, obviously, to you on International Women's Day. You're a fantastic mother, a fantastic stepmother, a fantastic daughter, and a fantastic sister. So you are all these things and a fabulous friend. So happy International Women's Day to Nads. She's a carer. She runs around looking after everyone, and sometimes and often and rarely gets credit for that, because of course if we kept saying it, we'd be saying it constantly. I'd like to say a happy International Women's Day to all four of my gorgeous daughters, Izzy, Fleur, Maddie, and Kiki, growing into incredibly strong, flawed in all of their own ways, and incredibly creative girls, all of them.
Formidable.
Four of the most creative individuals I've ever come across. I'm incredibly proud of you. And to my mother, who, it's been a choppy route, Mum, but you've been an incredible, the thing about you, Mum, is you fought for women's rights, you fought for gay rights. We had a very sort of bouncy, choppy, odd journey. But you know what, Mum? You're my travel companion through life. You're the one that stayed there. You're the only relative I have, and you're my mum. So thank you very much, Mum.
Oh.
So there you go. I'm going to go make a coffee.
Don't go now. Now you've made me cry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
God, classic.
Anyway, there you go. Yeah, it's it really is a day to cherish women.
It is, and I would like to do a shout out for two of our subscribers here. One who we've mentioned before, Tori, who is an incredible mother and also has to take the bins out, I discovered this morning.
What?
She has to take the bins out.
That is definitely a man's job.
And to new friends, Natasha and Christos.
Wow. What time is it?
Who are in the most incredible position of having a baby today on International Women's Day, a baby girl. So, to those two people, I would like to do, because we know a lot of other stuff that goes on for these guys, and we would just like to say you are powerful, you are strong, you are extraordinary.
Absolutely.
I always get emotional.
And I think it's classic Christos that the baby's booked in. Scheduled. Yeah. He said last night it's like Amazon Prime. I don't think Natasha would feel like that. But anyway, look, there are so many of you that we know, and look, that you're all going up here collectively. We know we have a majority of women subscribers and family guests, etc. And you all make this such a rich community. And every now and then some arsehole creeps in, you jump down on them and you knock them for six.
And also we've got some fantastic men here that are regularly here every day and are very respectful and supportive and come through with great comments and ideas. And Emily Page, all the women I know are strong, but I would like a shout out for me, if that's okay. I feel so strong to deal with my neurological condition every day. Visual snow. It's so rare. Love you all. God, Emily, big, big, big hugs to you. Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah,
Do your
really
own
good.
shout out. I love that.
Stacey269, my mum, grandma and auntie, they supported and showed me how to be a mum when I had my youngest daughter at 18. They also supported my now husband when everyone else said he wouldn't last 17
We wouldn't
years
last
ago.
17
We
years.
wouldn't last, sorry.
Oh, Stacey, that's lovely. Beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful.
So many women on here, Lee.
Oh, Tori's crying.
Have messaged me over the last 3 months for support, so thank you so much.
Oh.
Helen
Yeah.
B, Emily, you're great examples of something. Laura Dion, toilet cleaning, says Jules. I love the randomness of these. We are stronger together. Thank you all. Sarah Fox, Jew Osler. I'm so useless at cleaning. I feel embarrassed and ashamed of the state of my house.
God,
bless you.
it's hard.
Haley
it's
Lily,
hard.
single mum of 5. Wow, their dad died last year.
Oh, sweetheart.
I definitely get my strength from my mum. She's amazing, gone through cancer, a heart attack, and she cares for my dad, who has had a stroke.
Hang on a minute.
Really
Haley
fine.
Lily.
Big hug.
Big
Wow.
hug.
Wow.
I can't even actually absorb all of that.
Yeah.
So God knows how you do it. And I suppose you do it by one day at a time, one day at a time, one day at a time. So, yeah. Okay, well, we'll be reading these out through the next half hour that we spend with you.
I'm just going to pull this. I'm sorry, you may notice from the image quality we've had to go live.
Yeah, we've had a bit of problem with YouTube this morning, so we're all a bit all over the place.
I just wanted to share with you the Independent paper, online Independent, has got an influence list for the top independent women it considers in 2023. I'm not going to run through them all because there's so many, but I was surprised to see at number 1, Camilla, Queen Consort. I'm curious to know.
So who's voted this?
The Independent have decided this.
The Independent, independently.
Independent newspaper.
Right.
Hang on, the Independent has drawn up a list. Yes, so they've drawn up a list, and they put at number 1, Camilla, Queen Consort. Jill Scott, I think, number 2. Remember her from the Jungle?
God, we loved her,
didn't
we,
was
guys?
Fabulous.
We moved that over a little bit.
I'm trying. It's I'm really struggling.
Sorry, guys. We're just having a bit of a nightmare.
Really
or just want to be. There we go. We can see you now as well.
Bobby Chima Grubb, who is a judge. I've not heard of some of these. Emily Evis. I'm not entirely certain about some of these. I mean, every woman is great. Emily Evis obviously running Glastonbury. Curious that she's on the influential list and there aren't any really big female stuff. Now, this is the one that really got me. Number 6, Suella Braverman.
Oh my God.
Now, in defense, I guess, of their list, they're talking about the most influential. And I suppose in terms of impact on people, she's pretty...
I see. Big. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily. Well, you would think it would be influence for good. Though.
Who would you put in the public realm as your top sort of most influential, inspirational women?
So, so we're thinking about inspirational.
Look.
Well, there's mine. Nazanin Zaghari Radcliffe. I think she is absolutely extraordinary. When she finally was released from Iran after the complete cock up by the government. Her grace, her dignity, her power, and her resolve not to just be quiet. She got attacked for that. She got trolled for that. But this woman had been held in the most horrific of prisons, away from her family. She'd been tortured, everything. And people expected her to just come back and just be grateful.
Yeah.
Well, what would have been the point of anything if she didn't try and make some change? So, and as you know, guys, I was so wrapped up in this story, having met her husband a couple of times on Loose Women and just there, but for the grace of God, could anyone go? Yeah. I mean, this was kidnapped. This was state kidnap.
Yeah.
When she was held hostage, but in a prison. And so I just, every time I see her, my heart's just warmed at the thought she got out. So many don't.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, she should be right up.
Sarah Witherington, Kate Garraway, very good choice. Really.
Oh my God, amazing. And all the other carers she supports, because of course she's going through so much with Derek and care being withdrawn and up every 2 hours. Can you imagine whilst doing GMB? But there are so many others like that, and she always makes the point of highlighting that as well. So that's a great suggestion.
Great suggestion. And just rolling down, Davina McCall.
For all she's doing with menopause, hugely influential. Hugely influential.
Angela
to the
Rain,
point where a lot of doctors are moaning about her.
Right. There we go.
Incredible. No, huge influence.
Angela Rayner, deputy leader of the Labour Party. Meghan.
Well, I love Angela Rayner.
Yeah, I like Meghan. Yeah.
Well, you see, Meghan, whatever you think about her, she has been
Faith Goodman,
influential.
Kate
If
Garraway,
you're just
absolutely.
sticking with the word of influential, she's influenced
Is she
many.
though?
Well, if we break down the word, yeah.
And what has she influenced?
Well, I think for a lot of women of colour,
questioning
she's been hugely important, and she's brought lots of conversations to the fore. So I can see why she's in there. Absolutely.
I think this is an interesting one. Tracy Emin. I know a lot of people don't like her art. A lot of people don't
she's
like
one of my
art.
favourite artists.
I think something she's done really powerfully in recent years, in the last couple of years, is since her bladder cancer, she's been unflinching in showing the nitty gritty and realities of living with a, what do you call it?
It's not a colostomy bag. What's
but
the other one?
It's a sort of bag. What's
the bag called that isn't colostomy? But anyway, for her urine, because she has no function in her bladder. And she has campaigned around her bladder cancer is very specific to smoking. You only get it from stoma. You only get it from smoking. This is what I read in her interview. And she had to have extensive, horrible, difficult surgery. And it's amazing. Do you know what? Every day she goes and swims in that sea in Margate, out in the waves.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And she's told her whole story, and I think revealed to so many of us actually the difficulties of living with one of those guys.
They sum it up
been
quite nicely
really
here.
Powerful.
The Independent say her musings on life with a stoma are poetic and profound, and they create an essential conversation around a topic that many consider to be taboo.
I mean, I adore her. Like, if I met her, I would be so starstruck. Once she came on Loose Women, and I was gutted that I wasn't on, but then I was like, thank God I wasn't, because I probably would have been a blithering idiot.
I worked with her a fair few times, and there is something so like, you're both so like each other.
Do you think?
In so many different ways. Obviously,
well, I love that our youngest daughter now just adores her as well.
And she met her too, very briefly.
Her sculptures and her paintings.
This is a good one. And not a lot of people here saying Nad. That's very sweet. Alison Hammond. Lovely Alison Hammond.
Her power, she is absolutely riding high, and I just celebrate her in every way. I adore her. She's fabulous. You know, and remember, she started in Big Brother.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, when I read that, I didn't realise.
And years and years, she's just plugged away doing those jobs, those really hard presenting jobs on the road that people find so hard. And finally, she's being recognised. She's the only celebrity interviews I ever really enjoy watching. Not you know, when she used to do them on her own on the film circuits.
Yes.
She was so funny.
Claudia Winkleman. Mother Pucker, Anna Whitehouse.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. She's with our agent. She's with Jamie as well. Oh my God, that's fantastic. I've only just discovered her and started looking at her. I really like her.
Madonna.
No, I'm just thinking. I don't think for this year particularly. Hugely influential over the years.
Angelina Jolie says Jenny-Ella Cook. Brenda Edwards says Anne H. Absolutely.
Yes. Absolutely. Oh, Brenda. That's a lovely thought, Brenda.
They've also got Florence Pugh. Ellie Simmons.
Yes, she did amazing things, didn't she?
Yeah, absolutely.
God, isn't she won like 8 gold medals or something extraordinary like that?
Emily Attack.
Love her.
Very important documentary that she made, asking for it. Joan Collins. And the list goes on. Anyway. So, of course, the big topic of the day, guys, Jamie Lee Curtis, A-Frog. She's doing very well, isn't she? I have to pull this across, I'm afraid, just for a minute.
Can I just read out one more comment? Yes, because I'm going to pepper them through. This is from Shazali2312. To my teenage daughters, Ella and Anika, I love you to the moon and back, my fierce, strong girls. That's from your mama girls. Oh,
I'm just going to ask a poll because I want to know what you think of this, guys. Gary Lineker. Gary Lineker is in the news because he has likened the government's asylum policy to Nazi Germany, or how asylum seekers were treated during the Nazi sort of ascent
Rule.
to rule during the 1930s. So I want to ask, do you think he was right to invoke the Nazis or the time of the Nazis? He wasn't actually saying this is like the concentration camps or anything like that. He was in no way, I think, equating this to the plight of the Jewish victims in World War II. But Gary Lineker he was a major English footballer, and he's a major presenter at the BBC. But what he was talking about, and I think this has got a little bit lost in the whole debate here, of course, conservatives have gone absolutely batshit crazy, saying he needs to be sacked, he needs to be spoken to, he needs to be cautioned, and all this kind of thing. I think there are two things here that I think are interesting. There is, you have this sometimes, there is the onus on anyone in front of camera in a public service broadcaster not to overtly express their political opinions. I think he possibly
he could be in real trouble.
So he could be in real trouble on the Ofcom sort of side of things.
Massive trouble. Because it's the BBC.
Yeah. And all the rules and regulations around expressing personal political opinions, which would then compromise the impartiality of a broadcaster. So there's
if I said something like that on News Women, I'd be just like, I'd lose my. It would be very, very serious.
And also in any script that you write or anything like that, you've got to be careful. So there's that. But he's comparing it to the sort of what happened in the 30s, which was countries refused to take in asylum seekers. There was a brutalism. There was a refusal to recognize the plight that was developing, because no one foresaw how awful it would get in the 1940s. So that, it wasn't totally born of prejudice. Something I've studied modern history, something that you have to understand. And I've never, this used to strike me a lot as a teenager. They often talked about the fight against Germany. They were the enemy, etc., etc. It's an unfortunate taboo and something we don't like to talk about, that just because we were anti-German didn't mean we were pro-Jewish, interestingly, or pro-asylum seeker. It got to a point where something had to be done, but we had to be dragged there kicking and screaming. This wasn't like some mercy mission to, liberate necessarily everyone who was becoming a victim in Germany. And I think that's really important to say. So there are huge question marks over our foreign policy when it comes to asylum seekers. And I think he's drawing that parallel.
He's done it clumsily.
What
would you have said?
Look, well, interestingly, I've just asked, was Lineker wrong to compare asylum to Nazis? And it's quite close. I mean, a slim majority of you think he was.
I think, like you're saying, it's I sympathise with what he was saying, which was that this feels like dark times, and that this could be, and we've talked about this many times on here, haven't we? We don't have any idea really of how they're going to be treated in Rwanda because of past countries that have tried to do this, and we know how they were treated. So it feels like very dark times, and it could be something that starts small, but actually then builds to something incredibly dangerous and deeply unkind and inhumane. So that, I know what he was trying to say, but like you say, then what does it do to the people that have been the victims, the direct victims of Nazi Germany? It demeans their
Well, Chris White
story.
says exactly that. Thanks, Chris. I've not seen you comment before. Nazi Germany is a bit of a hackneyed go-to that undermines the argument, but the othering of migrants is creeping callousness that has echoes that need highlighting.
Oh, how beautifully put.
Yeah, really brilliantly
That's exactly how I was going to say it, Chris.
But I think where this story becomes quite important is, yes, he shouldn't have possibly done it because he's a presenter. Yes, you could argue stick to the world of sport. But I think by drawing such an extreme parallel, it might jolt a lot of people into thinking. I mean, I posted something on my story saying this is just for me. It's, the fact that there's potential illegality around it is enough for me.
The fact that the United Nations are saying this is illegal, so we are going to possibly just leave the United Nations so that we can skirt around this law, I think we should be very, very frightened of that, because as you just said so perfectly, it doesn't start in a big flashy way.
No, it doesn't.
It's incremental.
And that's what YT user is saying as well.
And I think that's what Gary was was trying to say, and I hate it when people start saying sack him, sack him, sack him. We all have to be so much more careful in everything we say these days, and for some reasons that's very good. I agree with it, but I do think in other ways it's gone way too far. And I'm not talking about this specific of what he said. I'm talking about we have to be able to explain what we meant without people asking for people to be sacked and cancelled.
It's a really difficult one because Jacob Kemp, I agree. No, the policy is very bad, but comparing the policy to Nazi Germany enables the Conservatives to distract from the content of the policy, which should be vigorously questioned.
Yes,
I agree.
That's a good point.
I agree. But what do you think of this, Jacob? Unless you go extreme, no one's going to report it.
Yeah.
I mean, no one is going to report it.
Thought that?
I don't know, because, you know...
Did he think, I'm just going to blast something that's going to cause a stir and then we'll all have these conversations that we need to be having?
I just think it's important that we are on the cusp of our government actually saying in the Houses of Parliament, House of Commons, actually saying, we don't think this is illegal, but it could be. But we're ploughing ahead.
So what we'll do is, we'll change the laws. Well, they
can only change our laws. They can't change international law.
Yeah, no, but by leaving. But what's it called?
No. But the United Nations, regardless of whether they leave or not, the United Nations. I mean, the United Nations issues cautions and schedules and laws and what have you. To China and Russia, who are terrible members.
Yeah.
You know, the United Nations have declared this as.
No, but that's what I mean. So they're saying, so they're going against the United Nations. What does that say about us? We don't like this law. So actually we're going to ignore the United Nations at this point.
Yeah.
Well, like you say, what do we do when we're in trouble with China and Russia and they're ignoring United Nations? It's just crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I just think one needs to pause before one damns and condemns what he said, because I think, as Aaron Bullimore was saying just there, we are always told to learn from history. And then when we turn to history, if it doesn't suit us, we say, shut the fuck up.
Good point. Let's just not try and cancel and sack people.
Yeah.
When we're just, because do we want to become, we have this amazing language. And, sometimes when I remember years ago, I had a Malaysian friend and he said, you cannot believe what it's like learning the English language.
Right.
To have, I couldn't remember the number of words in Malay compared to our language. He said it's the most extraordinary language.
Yeah.
And more and more and more, we're having to watch everything and restrict ourselves. Let's just have a bit more freedom with our words and be held accountable when we've said things that we shouldn't, but let us learn, apologise and move on.
Chris White, they've talked about a human rights holiday. Now that is scary.
You are joking. A human...
No,
I'm frightened if they've said that.
Holiday. I mean, this is.
Okay, let's have a few beautiful messages to take us away from that.
Melody, just quickly, Melody Alfie, civil servants in the Home Office will refuse to implement this policy. The union is representing them. That's a good point. Thank you.
Blonde Brit 3, my darling daughter, I'm so very proud of you. You are my heart, my soul. Love, Mum. Yeah. Lee Durham, please can you mention my incredible mum, Sue? She's been there for me through thick and thin. There you go, Sue. This is for my mum, Shashi Chopra, who's my rock through life's highs and lows. That's from Near Us Lifestyle. And we'll be reading some more. Yeah,
these are the International Women's Day messages. Eddie Izzard, who is the pronoun to be used for Eddie Izzard is she, is going to now be Suzy. And I think it's interesting that on International Women's Day, it's important that we embrace inclusivity, understanding. I think it's okay to also ask questions. And I think it's also, I wondered whether any trans women, I'm sorry if I'm stepping through the wrong or gender fluid people, feel that International Women's Day, I'm thinking of looking at it through the opposite opposite end of the telescope. Does International Women's Day feel excluding to trans women or gender, women on the gender fluidity chart, if you like, spectrum? Should there be a different International Women's Day for cis women and then another one for trans women, or whether it should all be
I seem to remember there being something about this last year.
As a mark of respecting difference, rather than sort of trying to suggest that it's all the same sort of toffee is toffee, all right?
Is this what SUZY is? This?
So
I haven't
yeah,
seen
I
this
didn't realise
piece.
Eddie Izzard was 61. Weirdly, years ago when I was the social secretary at university, I gave her one of her first gigs. It's quite something, and she says that this is something.
Was she hilarious?
Absolutely,
I've loved her every time she's come on Loose Women. I just love her.
Yeah, if I had one issue with SUZY or her, is I wish she did more comedy rather than this aspiration to get into. She really wants to be high up in the Labour Party. Andrea Crash, the world's first transgender mayor, then New Zealand MP Georgina Beyer, died aged 65 on the 6th of March. Oh, that's tragic. An important person as well. Lee Doran, I love Eddie Izzard, an incredible actor too. YT user, there's pros and cons to having a separate Women's Day for biological women and those who weren't designated that gender at birth. I don't think one would be better than the other. Yeah, I suppose I'm asking the question from a place of, there is this feeling amongst lots of biologically born women that, they want their space sort of recognized, not necessarily protected. But I was thinking of it the other way, which is like a little bit like things like gay pride. Is there a way of protecting and celebrating the difference of being a trans woman? I just thought,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there a day? Well, I mean, I literally don't know.
Yeah.
If anyone has any information on that they would like to share, that would be marvelous.
Okay. Now, you found a story last night which I thought was quite funny or quite interesting. This is a teacher who shares 5 types of mums at parent-teacher evenings. Who here?
My friends who are teachers.
Dreaded
oh
parents'
my God,
evening.
you should hear how they talk about parents' evening.
What were your experiences, guys, of parents' evening as a child or as a parent or as a teacher? Do you know what I mean? I mean,
my whole school life was teachers liked me. They saw I had huge potential and they just wanted me to stop talking and concentrate.
Right.
I couldn't concentrate. I would get my mind would go all over the place. Now we know about ADHD. My God, I mean, it was like literally an ADHD child. But my mum and dad were. Well, my dad never went to a parents' evening.
Would he know what a parents' evening is? No, he didn't know what Christmas.
No, he never. My mum really was a single parent in all things like that. My dad didn't know what school we went to. My dad was just not plugged in that way. Fantastic dad, amazing dad, creative and really expanded our way of thinking and a great storyteller. But he's just not of this world.
Not practical.
Just no. But my mum, I never remember getting told off or anything about nothing, because she used to come home with a nice enough. My reports, I wish I had some of my reports. They would always be the summing up of it was weird because in the olden days you were allowed to slag off kids, weren't you? But now you're not.
Yeah, well, you were allowed to throw board rubbers at them as well.
You weren't. You were allowed to say, "Oh God, Johnny's a lazy little git."
Yeah, they've got to step.
That.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be in 40 years' time, there won't be that reflection on really interesting school reports because they all tread around the language so carefully now. So you're not going to get Johnny's a little bastard.
My sister always tries to put a really personal thing when she was writing a report when she was working in school as an art teacher, because you have this formulaic thing. And when my mum was going to parents' evening, there wasn't a bell. Now you get like. You send your kids to private school, you get 3 minutes and then a bell goes off.
Well, hang on. And at normal school, you get 5 minutes. And then that's it. I mean, you literally are timed out. I mean, someone just said, I've lost you. Someone said they should update parents across the year rather than it all coming down to a moment.
A few minutes. And I understand why they do the timer.
Yeah.
But what's the point of it? I don't see the point of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, the
what are
different
these
types.
5 different types?
Do you recognise yourself, or were your parents this type if you don't have kids?
Okay, let's have a look. Do they break this down kind of neatly?
Does
no, they don't.
So her favourite kind, the ones that she loves, are always, isn't this interesting, are usually the kids that she loves as well.
Oh, right.
So you meet, the kid, you meet the parent,
right,
and it joins, the dots join.
Right.
Isn't that
and
interesting?
They actually are very supportive.
So that's one kind. So supportive, engaged, listening, and then the ones she really hates, she says, are the ones who pretend to be supportive, who listen carefully to everything that you're saying, and then turn to their child and somehow turn all your positive feedback into negative feedback.
I remember that happening to friends of mine by there. But
we never were allowed to go with our parents.
I can remember someone very close to me doing that, and it was beyond frustrating.
We never were allowed to go. Were you allowed to go to your parents' evening?
No. I remember one parents' evening my mum went to when I was about 15, and the one thing they said was, it's very good that he's got a girlfriend in Jane, but he's totally distracted and won't stop just looking at her. I wasn't listening to anything.
And then, so talking about the people that have the positive feedback and make it negative, and then make the kid feel bad about things and tell you how little they do at home when you've just told them how great their homework is.
So they throw their own kids under the bus.
They throw their own kid under the bus. Yeah. And oh my God, when I was reading that last night, I was thinking, all through life, that child potentially could be somebody that never believes in themselves or overworks themselves to try and do better, never satisfied, or just completely demotivated. Just that thing, such a window. Fascinating, isn't it?
We'll get to the third one. Sylvia Murphy, parents' evenings online are a waste of time. Much preferred face-to-face. Yes, same, face-to-face. This is a good one. Third.
Pushy parents who want the data. They belong with the spreadsheet kings or queens.
They're also competitive with other parents.
She says really annoying are the busy parents that pay more attention to their phones than their child's report.
The fifth and final type of mum and dad was more of a mystery. The very quiet ones, you can never work out what they're thinking. Mine are defo the quiet. Yeah, that's interesting. The quiet ones. Curious.
That's Toffee snoring, by the way. So anyway, what were your parents like?
Laura Dion, I cried at one of my parents' evenings. My English teacher said I'm too shy and need to put my hand up more. That was me and felt like an attack.
I hated that when they said that about our kids. Like, they don't want to put their hands up.
I hate this put your hands up thing. Never understood it.
It's teaching the world that shy people aren't valid, and they are so valid. There's enough loud bastards like us around. And I think, I'm going to be really dramatic here. I think that can lead, you've agreed with this, to drinking too much and all these things, because the shy person then goes out into the world and thinks that they're supposed to be screaming and shouting and putting their hands up.
I personally think it's bad teaching if you ask a child in a class to put their hand up, and if they don't put their hand up, what happens is they ask the question of the kids that haven't put their hands up because they don't understand, they don't know the answer. Take
them to one side, talk to them, but don't humiliate them in front of them. I don't like that.
Angie Knowles, my mum always pulled me down. My brother put me down. It was always the golden boy, and it still is. I still don't have a good relationship with mum or my brother.
Oh God, well, how can you? If you've always been put down and then the other person is shown as the golden person, that's just so hard.
Look at this one. Debbie O'Keefe, presumably you're a teacher. I have a parent that reports to me every morning about their child's behaviour before getting to school to shame them.
My God, throwing your own kid under the bus.
Bloody hell.
Jesus Christ.
Ellen, shyness and sensitivity are very underestimated qualities.
They should be gloried.
They're not even tolerated, if I'm honest.
They should be a teacher that would say to me, oh, your child is so shy and quiet. I love that about her. Oh, my God. That would be incredible.
Lisa Begager, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Begager. My mother put on a posh voice, agreed with them, and then slated the teachers afterwards.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Erin, parents even terrified me. I was so scared that a teacher would mention one time I chatted too much, or one time I forgot homework, and then my mother would scream at me when I got home. Yeah,
that's the point. For a lot of people, it's terrifying. That the parents get home, shout at them, beat them, and teacher friends that we have are very aware of that as well, because they usually know when a child is getting shit at home, and they will manage that. Often, not. I mean, that's what people told me. They feel it, and they're very careful with the parents. Yeah. Let's have a few more.
Yeah.
It's Mrs. Laurel.
Messages for International Women's Day.
Sorry, I should just keep saying that. It's my mum's birthday. This makes her extra special, being Women's Day, doesn't it? Happy birthday, Pat. That's from Mrs. Laurel. Eileen, thanks to you for all you do for us women. Oh, thanks, Eileen. I wouldn't have read that. That was for me. Louisa Hackett, when Wenda, thank you for dedicating your life to saving so many animals' lives. Love you.
Oh.
And Home at the Carrolls, please give my mum Liz a shout out. She's been the rock of the family and sadly now has dementia. Oh my God. Julie E2807, my beautiful daughter Abigail, for overcoming so much and being my rock through a really rough time. Sarah LMCB, my wonderful sister Mandy Wilson, as she puts herself before everyone else. And one more, Mandy Jane Senemi, my daughter Amy, who's been through so much. I love her dearly. Beautiful. And we'll read out the rest at the end.
Absolutely. We've got a happy birthday here that I jotted down in my phone that can't do lives. Tina Turner, is that your name?
Happy
Simply
birthday.
the best.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tina.
Turner.
You are simply the best.
Oh, look what you did there. Fantastic. Okay, guys. I don't know how. So,
Didn't you have one from? Didn't you have a couple? You said
no. That was the one.
And I thought you said
you read the mess.
No, I didn't.
Oh, sorry.
So Zoe Agnew, I always dedicate every Women's Day to my granny Jean. You loved her so much, didn't you? Miss her so much. And Songbirdie, myself, as a tough year, diagnosed with cancer, had to have a total hysterectomy. Songy Bird, brilliant you, brilliant, powerful, incredible you. I don't know if you follow any of my friends that are on Instagram, the Real Titty Gritty, Dance Your Tits Off, Hannah, I forgot what Hannah's one is now. Real House Hannah. They're all my friends that have had cancer, and they're lovely on Instagram, and they're really supportive. You might want to follow them. Okay. And Eileen_2616, my amazing daughter, has worked her ass off at uni and has just rung to offer to pay her masters. Has just rung to offer to pay her masters.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I guess fund herself.
Oh, to pay for them. Oh, I see. Yeah. Sorry. Warnock Lou, my mummy, with lots of yellow hearts.
Couple just coming in here. HWD, happy Women's Day to my beautiful mum, Stella, that lost her life partner, and my dad, Chris, late October. She's kept us going since. So proud of her. Christina Olivia.
Big hugs.
And there was another one here. Lynn Cullen, my daughter Emma, who looks after her 3 gorgeous children who have special needs. She's a great mum and is always so patient with them.
Oh,
sorry if we can't
happy
read out
International Women's
Just
Day.
a couple here. Tori, my mum, for making me strong and loving. Rachel for yoga and spiritual guidance, and Nadia, superwoman, and filling me with inspiration. Love your honesty and how much you care for your family and friends. So much admiration for these 3 women.
And yeah, lovely shout out for our lovely yoga teacher.
Yes,
Rachel Spain Yoga. Follow her on Instagram. She is lovely.
Christos, today I don't just celebrate the most amazing, gorgeous woman that's my wife, but also the fact that today she's given birth to our beautiful baby girl. I adore them both eternally.
And I would like to do one last one. It's a bit emotional.
Oh.
I just want to take a moment. I would like to do one last one for my sister Dina. You are all getting to know my sister Dina and to love her. And she has been through a lot in her life, and I really didn't want to cry. And she is quite something. She's very strong. She's gone down a lot of times. She's got knocked down and she's got back up. And she is amazing. And I'm just loving how much people are getting to know her on Instagram and on here, because she's bonkers, a brilliant cook, hilarious. And I love her very much. And just finally, to my beautiful girls, can't believe I'm a mum to 2 daughters. It's just it's just incredible. It's just, yeah, they just blow my mind. And thank you to all of you on here. Why have I got so emotional?
Because you're allowed to.
Yeah,
you're allowed to.
Yeah, and to all our lovely followers and subscribers here, that we just feel we do know so many of you, and to our silent ones that we know are there, and occasionally you message us, and we thank all of you. And that's it.
Happy International Women's Day. And sorry about the false starts earlier. I think we're going.